Well, good afternoon, everybody. Uh, let's just take my glasses. And on my yeah, that's much better with the glasses. It's a pleasure to be here with you today in Rio de Janeiro, and an honor to open this event organized by an OEM partner, Pelagos, in cooperation with Belga Marine. My name is Ademar Freire, and I am honored to represent Norwegian Energy Partners at this valued event. It's a pleasure to have all of you, with us today, and we dig into the theme of reinventing the spare parts supply chain. Before we begin, allow me to briefly introduce NOWEP. The Norwegian Energy Partners, or NOWEP, is a non-profit organization that supports the internationalization of Norwegian energy companies. Our mission is to promote Norwegian competence, technology, and solutions in global markets, connecting industry players and facilitating partnerships across the entire energy value chain. Pelagos is one of the several strong Norwegian companies we proudly promote around the world, representing the innovation, reliability, and forward thinking mindset that characterize Norway's contribution to the global energy and maritime sectors. And this is precisely where Norwegian competence brings value to Brazil. By making advanced Norwegian technologies and solutions available to Brazilian customers, we aim to support safer, more efficient, and more resilient operations. The goal is simple: to help operators reduce unplanned downtime, strengthen supply chain reliability, and ensure that critical assets remain productive. Norwegian companies have a long tradition of delivering high quality, certified, and innovative solutions. And we are committed to bringing this expertise closer to the Brazilian market. The title of today's session, Reinventing the Spare Parts Supply Chain, captures a transformation that is already reshaping the global maritime and offshore industries. Additive manufacturing, digital inventories, and the end of long lead times are no longer distant concepts. They are becoming practical tools that can strengthen operational resilience, reduce costs, and unlock new business models. This is particularly relevant here in Brazil, where the scale and complexity of the offshore sector demand innovative approach to aftermarket services. The challenges are well known: long procurement cycles, unpredictable lead times, import bottlenecks, and the difficulty of sourcing specialized or obsolete components. These issues affect not only efficiency, but also safety, reliability, and the ability to maintain continuous operations. Today's sessions brings together OEMs, end users, and industry peers to discuss how we can build more resilient aftermarket service models in Brazil. And this conversation is timely. The industry is evolving, and so are the expectations of operators, suppliers, and regulators. As we look at the future of the spare parts supply chain, several points of attention stand out. Areas where innovation can make a real difference. First, process reliability. Traditional supply chains often depend on long, rigid, and geographically distant production routes. Reinventing the spare parts chain through digitalization and additive manufacturing can significantly increase predictability and reduce operational risk. Second, digital traceability. A digital inventory supported by certified data, standardized documentation, and transparent quality control allows operators to know exactly what is being produced, where, and under which specifications. This builds trust and reduces uncertainty. Third, on-demand manufacturing. Instead of waiting weeks or months for a part to arrive from overseas, additive manufacturing enables production close to the point of use. This not only reduces lead time, but also minimizes the need for large physical inventories. Fourth, access to a global network of certified manufacturing capabilities. When companies can rely on a distributed network of qualified suppliers, they gain flexibility and resilience. This is specifically valuable in a country as large and logistically complex as Brazil. And finally, the management of hard to source or obsolete components. Many operators face the challenge of maintaining aging assets with parts that are no longer produced. Additive manufacturing offers a viable and safe alternative, extending asset life and reducing downtime. These innovations are not meant to replace OEMs or traditional suppliers. Instead, they create new opportunities for collaboration, new service models, and new ways of delivering value to the industry. I am confident that today's discussion will shed light on how OEMs and operators are adapting their strategies and what the wider ecosystem, including technology providers, regulators, and safety partners, need to do to support this transition. After the panel, there will be time for questions and informal networking. I encourage all of you to take advantage of this opportunity to exchange experience, explore partnerships, and reflect on how this technology can strengthen the Brazilian market. With that, I would like to thank Pelagus and Belga Marine for organizing this important event, and thank you all for being here today. I wish you an excellent and productive session. Thank you.
Karen, please. Now is your. Thanks, Rodolfo. Okay, could I kindly ask our experts to join the stage, please? So, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining today for the expert panel discussion. The topic of today, as Adamar was pointing out, will be how to build resilient aftermarket service models in Brazil. Um, and so we've got a good mix of and the position in this topic. My name is Bjorn Madsen. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Pelagus. So I'll be moderating this discussion, and we'll be talking approximately 60 minutes, looking at the main challenges, looking at some of the solutions that are being implemented, and also what are the changes that us as an ecosystem need to make in order to build that resiliency in Brazil. Uh, it will be a fairly fluid conversation between the panelists. If you have any questions, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the 60 minutes. So please note any questions that you have, and we'll definitely make sure you have time for it at the end of the conversation. First up, I would like to introduce our experts. What? So first we have Dennis Moraes. He is head of aftermarket sales for South America at Kongsberg Maritime. He has over 25 years of experience in the offshore and maritime sectors, including senior roles at Belga Marine, where he led large-scale aftermarket operations and negotiated major contracts with oil companies. His background spans electrical and automation systems, offshore construction, and fire and gas technologies on FPSOs and refiners. He brings a depth of perspective on both technical and commercial aspects of aftermarket support in Brazil. Welcome, Dennis. Next, we've got Talis Moran. He is Executive Operations Manager for FPSO assets at the Altera and Ocean joint venture. With more than 15 years in upstream offshore oil and gas in Brazil, He leads operations and technical support teams for an FPSO in the pre-salt region. From an operator perspective, he has managed assets across multiple life cycle stages and brings very practical insights on how spare part strategies influence uptime, safety, and risk exposure. Welcome. We have Gabriel Seguera. Gabriel Seguera is the general manager for Lifecycle and for South America in Barcelona. An industrial engineer by education and training, he leads lifecycle sales across the region, driving customer-centric growth and long-term partnerships. And as part of Arcila's global leadership team for lifecycle sales, he brings the OEM view on how lifecycle and aftermarket models are evolving in South America. Welcome, Gabriel. And lastly, we've got Jan Lamholt, international executive and honorary consul of Sweden in Brazil, with more than 30 years of leadership across the maritime, energy, and technology sectors. He is currently CEO at Gaia Global, chairperson and CEO of Belga Marine, and partner at M&O Partners, and a director of the Danish Chamber of Commerce in Rio de Janeiro. He brings a perspective of local ecosystems partners, connecting OEMs, operators, and technological partners. Welcome, yeah. Thank you all for being here. And to kick off this panel discussion, I have a fairly short question. If I could ask you guys to answer it as briefly but as honestly as possible. Maybe starting with you, Gabriel. Where do you see the biggest challenges today in terms of the Brazilian aftermarket service?
Hello, good evening, all. It's a pleasure to be here sharing the floor with you guys. For me, the main challenge we have nowadays in all positions somehow is with the having qualified availability of qualified people to serve all the markets. So I think that this is one big challenge that we have across our industry.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Bjorn, for the introduction. It's also a pleasure to join to this panel from operator side. If may I would summarize in one word: unpredictability. That's the main challenge for sure without the market. So we never knows what comes about the times, about the quality of service, and so on. So that's predictability. That's a good job.
Hello, good evening, everybody. In my point of view, at least in Kongsberg Maritime, the diverse of portfolio, ranging from software all the way to cranes and winches, are the biggest challenge with different life cycle routines and complexities. I think this is the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I will start with saying that if you look at my colleagues in the panel, and thank you for me being honored to sit up here with you, you can see the hair color of my panelists here. They have been in Brazil for a long time. I'm a little bit surprised because my white hair comes exactly from being here 15 years only, but working with the aftermarket and all the challenges that is to align global models, global OEMs into the Brazilian market's complexity, understanding of the local need for speed, predictability, and all was said here before. So I just want to say my hair is representing the challenges of the aftermarket as well. I have worked with more than 100 companies entering to Brazil with products and helping operators and supply chain with optimizing this. And I have to say, it's not just an easy walk. Brazil is kind of complex in many ways. So.
No? There we go. And thank you all for the responses. Now turning to OEM, specifically Gabriel and Dennis. In terms of how you're working today, in terms of traditional aftermarket models, where do you see what is working well right now in Brazil, and where do you see areas that you're potentially struggling?
Well, I think that what works very well is when we can work very close together in partnership with our customers. That is this sense of transparency and that we can trust each other. That we as OEMs we can support the customers in their operations, like planning together, or even when we can kind of be in their operation monitoring their systems, like and and this makes us able to plan together and to kind of prevent any kind of surprise. So we are in a sense not to have unpredictability, right? But to prevent that to happen. And what doesn't work well is when we are not able to work together, and then we have the unpredictability because we are not fit to that, right? So
Yes.
all the urgencies and so on, the resources are limited to everybody, and so as for instance as OEM, so to attend the urgencies, it's always challenging to everybody. It's hurting all the industry in my point of view. So we should work always anticipating those challenges as much as possible.
It's a good point. The planning point. I've heard. I've heard. I think Dennis, you mentioned that before in previous conversations as well.
Yes. Yes, that's the same. I think when we are able to plan, we can fill most of the gaps related to the unpredictability and the lead times and all the things that put difficulty in bringing stuff to Brazil and having the right goods in place. By mid 2025, we already have scheduled all the service to be done in 2026. Talking closely with the ship owners and the asset managers, what are you going to do next year in terms of maintenance planning? And what we struggle is whenever there is something that was not predicted, and then we have and then flexibility and speed matters most than the process itself. So while being big as a OEM, you have to have that flexibility and speedness to address the issues that always happen, right?
Perfect. And maybe next to the next question, going on to you, Thales. Where do you see that the current aftermarket models are working well, but where they're failing in the sense of whether that's failing because of lead time or flexibility or price?
So what I would say that is working well, I mean, the quality of the service and products has increased significantly. So if you look at our partners here, so we are all equipped with Kongsberg systems that are highly reliable, as well as a Baxilla machine. So that's it's very common, and year by year, the capability to provide good services. So good quality technicians, good quality materials, and upgrades. So this is we need to recognize, the industry is moving forward. So that's amazing to recognize. The challenge, I would say, um, the first thing would be like the operators demands flexibility sometimes. So what customer, more tailor-made solutions. So sometimes we can see some contracts that are very rigid and approach that are being very rigid. So the operational journey, it is very dynamic. It changes fast, normally on weekends and and holidays. So that's one topic that I think is to improve, as well as the lead times. So more predictable lead times. So we really count on that. So we produce. So the uptime is an availability is the key for success. So having the lead times. So be assured with the lead times. So it will be appreciated. And I think the last one would be like my shareholders and the clients. They really appreciate steady operations.
Yeah.
So as much steady, it is better. and we can feel like sometimes external factors influence to the quality of material. So we can really recognize ups and downs from external factors like commodities, dollars. So it was very clear during the COVID outbreaks how was complicated, you know. I mean, the lead times increases years more. So it was a big challenge, but even though still a challenge. Small factors, you know, like
Is this something that Gabriel and Daniel, is this something that you recognize as well, or you hear also from your customer base?
Yes, yes, it is. We are always trying to increase the predictability and the availability of the asset of our customers. We have now in Brazil close to 120 field service engineers to serve, and also the project engineering. So my daily mission inside Kongsberg Maritime is to rely less and less from my headquarters in Norway. So the more I can use our own workforce using the same time zone with the same language, it's better to the customer. And I see that they also see the value on this.
I would say the same. Like it's very similar scenario. Like we try to be as close as possible and not depending on headquarters in Finland or whatever. To support our customers, and I think that the sense of the supply chain of spare parts and so on. I think that with I mean planning is key. So I mean we should anticipating more and more demand would be the best always the best option to be ready for to supply what customers need.
And Jan as well, from your side, I mean, is this something you hear quite often? What do you see as the big
No,
hurdles?
no, I think I would start with the positive things that I've seen over 15 years here. I think adoption of innovation and always driving for getting better, predict more predictability, preventive maintenance. When I arrived here, it was kind of very few that really did preventive maintenance. Now we are planning much better, and the digitalization adoption of that. Uh, but I also I come from other industries, so I also think that we are maybe the latest industry to adopt all these advantages. But it's coming and it's coming fast. So from that perspective, we have a lot of opportunity. And then to what was said here, the factors. There's many factors, right? There's the distance from the other side of the globe where you want to adopt innovation and technology spare parts. Sometimes they are not here, right? It's the first question you meet when you come out. Do you have stock here in Brazil? And often it's not that easy to have that because of other factors like taxes and warehouse binding of the assets and so on. So there's many factors like we don't even get control, right? So we need to be agile and we need to be close. And I think you said that, Dennis, and Vatsila said the same, Gabriel, that we need to be close so we can have autonomy and to react fast and close to the operators. So that's thing I think that's positive, but it's still we have many challenges of that. And then I think innovation will help us to be better and for the shareholders to predict what the outcome will be, higher uptime. That is for sure possible going forward.
You mentioned that predictive maintenance. That's an interesting point. Is that going back to you, Gabriel? Is that something that also Vartilla is looking at? But what other kind of solutions are you guys seeing as this is the way for us to move forward? This is how we see, or this is the priority in terms of enhancing your capabilities.
Thanks for the question. I believe that this is the prime, let's say, product that we can have with Artsila, like by monitoring, supporting our customers, monitoring our equipments, we can build a scenario of predictive maintenance that we can support their operations, kind of guiding their operators to act on time to prevent kind of catastrophic damages, things like that. But also to plan the maintenance in the sense that we can extend the lifetime of the equipment. So even saving more with increasing availability of the equipment, and also reducing cost of maintenance, time between overhauls, for example. So this is for sure like the prime product that we can have, like having in a in a contract way the possibility to, by monitoring the equipment installed in our customers, support them in operating them and maintaining them the best way possible, predicting how it is, and maybe planning the maintenance well in advance.
Yeah, that's the same. I think we are finally getting traction on having sensor on board the equipment, having remote services that we can do most of the things before going on board, preparing ourselves, and also using the data analytics to gather all the data and evaluate and maybe enable the condition based maintenance and predictive maintenance.
Perfect. And in terms of manufacturing or technologies or perhaps maybe contracts, how contracts are set up uh, based on availability or based on instead of our performance, is that also areas for where you see potential that Kongsberg, for example, is moving that direction?
It comes a lot from the customer side. Normally nowadays, most of the contracts are based on penalties, not on availability, right? So they are expecting 100% availability. If not, there are penalties related to it. But we see at least in the North Sea, some of the contracts are related to availability. So the more you make the asset available, the equipment available, the more you make at the end, and it also enable the new contracts to the best in class in terms of reliability.
And anything you want to add to that, Gabriel? Or
Yeah, it's quite same similar model. Like I think that the if we can summarize in one word, is flexibility. Like we are very flexible in building the agreement together with the customer the way that it fits better the customer. So if it is from just a kind of the most simpler way of aligning terms and conditions and so on for kind of uh, supporting the life cycle, supplying spare parts and food services, that can be, or really based on what would be the added value to the customer and how we can share the gains that the customer can have by increasing their availability or like the upselling in their contracts. We are very flexible in building that together.
thank you. And tell us, is that something that resonates with you as well, or is there any of these that things that you've heard so far from Dennis and Gabriel that you say, this would really make a big difference?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, predictability, right? The maintenance actually is moving toward to this direction. So we carry out actions that really adds power to increase the reliability, and in having, of course, the eyes from the manufacturers. So adds a lot of value, technically saying. So and also it drives our actions. It drives our budget. How it drives, our investments. So I think that's resonates for sure. That's the way we should pursue.
Perfect. And Jan, from a partner perspective, what role do you think you guys can play in this in terms of as a promoter of new technologies, as a promoter of partnerships?
No, I think all innovation has to be mature, right? So we have worked with a lot of new technologies that is on that curve of the matureness. We need to talk with with the operators, of course, that they can adopt that. It takes some time, and you need to prove and get the trust of these new ways of doing things. That's not only digitalization. 5 years ago, when I talked about AI, people looked at me and said, "We're not even away from the spreadsheet or paper in some areas." And today, everybody has a good feeling that it's actually can help us, right? And it's the same when you come to, I will not call it disruptive, but new methods of even producing parts, where we see every day that there's a demand for high uptime. And if you suddenly don't have an OEM that has this on stock, and you maybe have it yourself, or you don't have it yourself anymore, you create a lot of issues that the shareholder will not like, right? We need to produce every day, 24/7, 365. So there's technologies that starts being able to solve this, but it will take some time. And again, we're in Brazil. It's not the same to be in Brazil than to be in a market where there's so many industries that already has capacity built up. We don't have, for example, all this capacity today, but we are getting there. We are starting, we are seeing it, and we need everybody to work together in this ecosystem, because if it's only the OEMs, only the operators, and nobody is helping, facilitating, and pushing this forward, it takes too long time, right, before we see the results.
That's a very interesting point. Is that something also from, I'm curious to hear from the OEM and operator perspective, is that this need of having an ecosystem, is that something that's discussed internally amongst your teams as well?
Yeah, fully agree. I think this business is not a single sport, for sure, and having like a decentralization will for sure increase agility. So have more partners or local partners, so more flexible. I think that's a way for sure that will increase, will attend the demands quickly, and also. On the OEMs, so they have a lot of service. They have a lot of demands as well. So lacks people sometimes, right? You have some peaks of demands. Having more partners, more decentralization, it may absorb. S- Sounds
Perfect. Sticking with you, Talis, you heard some of the solutions that get from Dennis and from Gabriel regarding predictability, or gaining predictability and being able to be flexible. Um, if we switch it from the lens of aging assets and parts that are coming towards the end of that product life cycle, would you treat this differently? How? Some of the solutions you heard today, are they still as relevant? Is there areas where you'd see, hey, this would really make a big difference for me?
yeah, I think the great opportunity we have a chance to talk before the meeting on a very do we align on this concept is about uh, operators, OEMs, partners. We should have like a asset life cycle mentality. So the best experience we have comes from our partners that I don't ask a service. They come to me and say, hey, your equipment is reaching 10,000 hours this year. Do you need to buy this repair kits? Because locally, most likely, increase the chance of fails. So, but to do so, so a partner is following up the life, since the design, since the conception. I think it is like and of course, when the asset gets old, the complexity increase. So the integrity, especially the corrosion in tropicals. So it becomes a big challenge. Demands a lot of resources. Demands a lot of people on board, and as well as the obsolescence is a big challenge. So we need to several of these units, these floating units, they have been converted. So we don't even find more parts. So there is no, the company doesn't longer exist. So I think having this is a challenge, and also this is an opportunity. But to work, we need to share this mentality, to like share data. We are creating a lot of data.
throughout all the life cycle. I think that is that's the solution we need to unlock. We are having good experiences with some, but there are more to explore. That's a very good point. I think especially the sharing of the data element. I guess I flip this around now back to Gabrielle and Dennis. What could operators and asset managers, vessel managers do to really help OEMs also to be able to address the challenges with, especially with aging assets and legacy portfolio?
Yeah, I think that the best that we could have is really kind of a integrated systems that we could share information very transparent way. I mean, it should be environmental, that it's not kind of a competition, but collaboration, right? So it makes no sense to hide information, uh, or not to share, not to anticipate demand, and so on. Trying to get a maybe better commercial advantage or whatever. I mean, this is a game of cooperation for sure, and I think that technology evolves to the point that we nowadays we can easily connect systems from procurement to, I mean, to maintenance models, to follow the trends of the equipment using AI to make sure that we work in a kind of predictive maintenance way. It's already available. It's just a matter for the companies, and then the people that are behind the processes, right, have the willingness to work together and making this happen. I think that I mean, we are ready for it. It's just a matter to this ecosystem uh, be willing to do so.
Thank you, Gabriel. And Dennis, from your side?
That's the same. I think a transparent data exchange between the asset owner and the OEM is very important to understand what's going wrong and what can be done. We are fully sensitive that some of the asset, maybe there is no need to make an upgrade because the contract's gonna end by the end of the year or by 2 years. So there's no forecast after for the asset after that. So it's something that put another layer of complexity, right, in terms of investment. Whether you're going to invest or you're going to push those obsolete equipment forward and just take the risk. Right? So it's something that we can also support using our own warehouse parts availability, or even using other players in the market. There are cases where we can take the equipment from one asset to the other. So, but this can only come true when there is transparent information between all the parties, right?
Mhm. Do you think there's a willingness from the OEM side as well to potentially continue to extend the life over, let's say, upgrading or retrofitting?
For sure, for sure. The more you can extend the life of an asset, the less environment impact, the less money you have to put on. To build a new FPSO or a new vessel, it takes 2 years, a lot of investment before you start making money. And if you have a 15 years old vessel or FPSO and you just do small upgrades, you can extend the life to make more money almost in 6 months' time, depending on the upgrade. And you can also reduce the the asset side, right? Because nobody has appetite to have 3-4 billion USD just stop at the floating on the water. So I think if it's something that is good for both ends, right? For aftermarket, maybe not from the new sales, but on the aftermarket, it's okay to extend the life of the asset, right? Uh, for sure.
Perfect, thank you. And Jan, from your side, do you see any from it, especially from an aging asset perspective, do you see any areas where there could be room for improvement, collaboration, etc.
Yeah, I think we are here having additive manufacturing on the board, right? I think there will be pieces that nobody anymore takes responsibility for. We see that on a daily basis. The panic in the eyes because where do I get that? Even the some merchant acquisition parts is discharged. It's not possible to get anymore. So there we need to find other solutions, right? Either we have a big design job to change, cost a lot of money, downtime, or we use solutions now that's possible, like additive manufacturing, to produce that part, and lifetime extension will be huge if we can do that. But that again means that we need to have the capability to understand the parts and also have the certification around that, the compliance around it. It's not just flip it the hands, right? It's assets that has a lot of complexity around them, but it is possible and it's moving that way. So I think that is technology that we have to use to be handling that together with the OEMs to also find a way to, because it costs a lot of money. If Dennis has to have parts that he maybe can sell one or two, or there's a need for one or two in the next 5 years, it's a tough challenge to keep stock of everything as OEM. But if there's new technologies that can handle that, digitalize it and use it on demand or print it on demand, I think it's a really smart and no-brainer in the future to do that.
Thanks. And touching on that point, in terms of looking 3 to 5 years ahead, what kind of capabilities do you see that needs to be developed in the Brazilian market specifically?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah, so if I close my eyes, I mean, everybody should be able to have a percentage of their inventory spare parts digitalized. They have an easy way to push the button in the supply chain to say, I need this in a week or 2 weeks. And then the production starts locally, very short transport time here in Brazil, and you get the part and it's certified, it has all the compliance, and you can shorten months or half a years to a week or something like that. So I really believe that it will be that path we are entering, not for everything, not for high volume stuff and these things, but for specific special critical and obsolete effects, you can find very speedy ways to do it locally.
And I know we've spoken a lot between ourselves also and from others as well in the audience, this whole chicken and egg element as well regarding capabilities. Is that something you want to comment on as well?
No, I can. I think that's why I say we have to have an ecosystem like today. We are here today because we have an interest in new technologies and solving our pains. And by talking together and pushing each other, the chicken and egg becomes not an issue. But in the beginning, they will always be like this. It's a huge investment to get these technologies to Brazil for many reasons. From the service company perspective or from the operators or OEMs perspective, it's not just easy to implement. So I mean, it's going now better and better. We see, I think we have 20 machines in Brazil that can print. Super duplex is being done today as we speak. So it's not like it's impossible. Even things that you didn't believe or you didn't have your head around that was possible, it's possible today. In 5 years, I think you will have the capacity in Brazil. You'll have the investors that see that this is also something that benefits here in the business point of view. And I think the boards, our owners, will demand that we also save money, right? We have to have a higher uptime and profit and revenue stream, but we still need to look at where we can save money. And one of the ways you can save is if you can digitalize inventory, let's say just 10%. Can you imagine how much stock you could reduce and how much money that means on the bottom line? So it's not only revenue and uptime and predictive maintenance, it's also saving cost. We all have these jobs.
Excellent. Gabrielle, from your side, from the OEM perspective, I mean, also, I know both yourself and Dennis are coming from large international, multinational OEMs now with manufacturing and supply chains around the world. What kind of, from your guys' view, what is important to develop from a capabilities perspective in Brazil?
Well, I would say that if you go to the point of kind of manufacturing spare parts and so on, I think if uh, me personally, I would like to see something like you just describe it, like why not like to have for obsolete parts that nobody is able to supply anymore, to have this available wherever it is. It would be great. It would solve a lot of the industry problem that I mean, it's a burden to everybody, right? Like to the ship owners, operators, to the OEMs. It would be great. I think that what I would like to see personally is in the sense of getting this transparent environmental where we can share information, we can trust each other to improve the relationships in the industry and together like the customers of our customers, that we could all sit together and have a very uh, kind of transparent discussions on okay, how to solve the problems that we face. I think that this would be a very winning point to the industry in general.
And I know that, even though we're talking about building capabilities in Brazil, Brazil is in Varela and Kongsberg, they're not isolated. You're connected to a bigger organization with its own strategies and a direction. Uh, how do you see what's important there in terms of being able to influence or drive from here?
I think that Brazil is, with no doubt, a market that is very important, not only the oil and gas, but all other segments. It represents a kind of a uh, growing economics, growing potential, business growing, and so on. So I think that all companies, I mean, multinational companies that are here doing business here should look to Brazil with eyes that are, hey, it means investment for sure. Of course, that it touches like strategic areas to every company to take decisions on how to do it. But I think that for sure, like Brazil is in the eyes of everybody. So
Definitely. Dennis, on your side?
I was just thinking about the again regarding the predictability and the availability of the asset. I think due to the last crisis, we were very good on taking very careful steps when it comes to finance, right? So we only push the button to buy a part when you have the contract signed and so on. But sometimes I think that technically wise, even mostly when we're talking about used asset, right, old asset, sometimes I think we are taking too much risk technical wise. So maybe we should be more careful with when it comes to the risk of having an old asset uh, for more 5-10 years, right? In order to not come to a point that the asset will not be available again. So, or you have a off-hire situation for 2 or 3 weeks before you bring the part, or you bring a part from abroad. I think it's something that we need to be more careful when it comes to the risk related to keep using old asset. And I'm all in on using old asset.
Perfect. And beyond, let's say, predictability, maybe taking risk on from a contract perspective, do you see any area for capability growth from a local manufacturing perspective, or?
Yes, I think we could use better the data analytics tools in order to predict where to build a part or not. Uh, on the maritime, we are on board of one third of the world fleet in terms of vessels. So we are able to, of course, we have not grew organically by acquisition of other companies, mostly in Norway, but also in Finland. Uh, and I understand the issue by centralizing all the decision in one supply chain because it makes it difficult for M&A stuff. But I think there is room. I mean, with all the data and data analytics tools and AI, you can digest more data easily than without it, right? So I think it's a place where we can always develop. It's very difficult to use the same ERP or CRM, right? When you are buying another company or merging or making a joint venture. So it's even a bigger mess when you are trying to merge operations, right? Supply chain and purchase and so on. So it's a deal that technology big can fill the gap.
Perfect. Thank you. And tell us, from an end user, operator, or asset manager perspective, where do you see as the main capabilities that needs to be developed for Brazil from a 3 to 5 year perspective?
Yeah. Well, as you said, so the most challenging for all the assets are getting old. So, and sometimes it looks like this equation is still not solved because the amount of problems, the amount of recommendations, technical recommendations is growing. So the corrosion growth goes fast on on board, you know. So I have 3 weeks ago in Petrobras, among with competitors discussing about like drops object. So we climb and see potential drops. We're talking now about safety. So depending on the weight, or in the height, it can lead even to a fatality. And the amount of recommendations for one FSO turns around 4,000 items to be repaired, you know, and check it. So even more. So the big challenge that has been discussed is how to tackle so big, so amount without having the POB. And maybe the additive manufacturing can give us a lot of help, you know. So can give that's a time, you know, about this matter to think outside the box, you know. So traditional manufacturing, you know, like uh, is taking place for a light materials, you know, like light posts with a carbon, you know. So it is a better tool, and then you can fabricate a lot of items faster. It is easy to replace, so without hot work, that's a challenge as well. So it would be like a cut it, install by bolt. So we need to think about maintainability, our partners, and to produce in series a huge amount, because there is a big monster ahead of us. So the assets are getting old, and the amount of problems looks like they don't. We need to think outside the box. That's a big challenge for the market and the opportunities as well.
That was music to my ears. I really think that this was a good example of exactly sharing things, right? Because with additive manufacturing, you can re-engineer as well. So you can find other materials types. You can, with the traditional manufacturing, we were stuck for many years doing it that way. Now we have a new way to do things, and you can do it lighter. You can do it in other materials, and the dropped objects. I never thought about that, but it's a really smart thing to do for new FPSOs or new assets. You also have a weight problem, right? You can simply there's limitation now that we need to find solutions. And I was in a project with a valve that reduced the weight 70% with a higher strength than it had before. So I mean that was re-engineering, thinking out of the box on a problem that was very important to solve. So I really liked it from the old assets point of perspective, but as well for new ways of products and re-engineering, and then the local speed and the lead time, and finally, I will work with that for 50 years. So it's getting better. Some places getting worse, but the local content and the handling of taxes and prices, there is a limit, right? We cannot just say everything can be done, but it costs a fortune. So that is also an aspect that we can do it cheaper by having it closer, and we don't have these barriers of toll or import or green line, yellow lines, red lines, even, right? That we all know exist.
That's an interesting point on this import and export. Do you see, is that the end? Is that where you see things are changing, or do you?
Oh, I mean, the world is not changing necessarily globally in a good way there. But if we look at Brazil, there's a new Mercosur agreement coming, which goes to zero taxes on importation. And of course, the operator has maybe tax regimes where it's not so important, but it's a lot of administration of the parts and etc. and so on. But it will ease also the importation because there's no need to stop anything. If it's agreed, this comes from here, goes to Brazil, zero tax, it just pass in. So that will also be able to speed. But on the other hand, other places in the world, we are building up walls that will make it even more needed for doing something local behind to simply be able to operate, right? So from a price point of view.
And tell us, do you see what from what you shared just now is you know, capabilities, and where do you see from Altero Ocean's perspective? What are the big priorities to help you get there in the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah. The idea, the main priority is on the integrity, on the asset integrity management. So what we are looking at, we can see a lot of gaps between the inspection programs as well as reading these inspections, go into the RBI process, creating recommendations, execute recommendations. So fabrication and close. So this gap, there's a lot of gap in this process that's supposed to be simple. But in practice, it changes from hand to hand. There are several players involved on it, several third parties involved on it. So we are looking at as well digitalization and digital twins of integrity. So it could be a technology that, I mean, there is a huge potential, to minimize the amount of people on board, to bring prioritizations, to decision making. So that is the main investments at the moment, is having this digitalization and of course try new solutions. And so I mean, sometimes our market it's very conservative, so they don't accept much, new players. So I think that's one thing that Altera is focus is to give more space, like new technologies. Let's attempt, let's try, because yeah, ambient and feedback. So I think that is one of the strategic plans for the company as well.
Interesting. You mentioned digitalization. Is that something you hear also from the other operators as well?
Absolutely. I mean, this I would say uh, we are on this race. Let's say all the operators are looking for that, and having like this asset management system is stronger, more aligned. For instance, with the ISO 55001 series, which is the best practice on that. So I think that is a race going at the moment.
Perfect. Thanks. And Gabriel, from the position of Artilla, uh, where, what are the key, let's say, capabilities or priorities right now from, let's say, life cycle or aftermarket perspective that are really, top of mind for you that you're driving today, or is it?
Well, I would say that as more that we can get closer to the customers, supporting their operations to the point that we could have their systems well monitored, and so I think that this is key. This is key to achieve the level of for having reliable systems running in our customers. That's the best that we could have when when supporting our customers in their operations. Uh, yeah. Obsolescence is a factor that affects all equipment and so on. So it demands investment as well. So it's kind of, well, how to keep uh, all the assets that equipments are becoming obsolete, but at the same time we need to keep high level of reliability. So and to achieve this level of predictability, it means investment as well. So that's kind of a, there's no other way by of doing that by without investment, right? So yeah, it, the customer demand customers investment, but demands also OEM investments on new systems, new technology, and finding ways to kind of making uh, this demand with the technology match.
There are two initiatives. One is more mature, which is related to trusted support pool, where we can just swap the existing equipment by a new one, a refurbished one. So this reduce a lot of time in during dry dock and stop operation, and also increase predictability because we do not have any surprise by swapping one for another already tested on board on factory. So this one is more mature. Of course, there is the challenges related to taxation, repair, and have and so on to be addressed. But we have some cases in Brazil, and the second, which is it's not very mature yet, due to class issues and so on, is the condition-based maintenance, where you can leverage in data, vibration, and oil samples. You can decide whether or not you are going to make a big intervention on an equipment or just a smaller intervention, right? With less parts, less seal, and the less man hours. So there are those two that we are actually working on in order to make it available for the Brazilian customers.
Thank you. Thank you. I know we're coming close to the end of the discussion session. We'll move on to Q&A. But just to wrap up, I think we've heard some great examples coming from the full ecosystem of what are the key challenges, what are some of the solutions from predictive information sharing to enable greater availability and parts arriving on time, to potential developing new capabilities of digitization, additive manufacturing, etc. So I'd like to thank you very much to our panel of experts for providing great insights. Next, I'll be moving into the Q&A session, where I'll pass the mic around in case there's anybody that has a question for any of our experts. Just raise your hand.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fabio Santana. I work for a equipment supplier for electric manufacturing equipment in Brazil. And also I am a co-convener for two committees of ASTM ISO TC261. It's the additive manufacturing committee. Actually, I would like to make a more like a challenge to you guys. Nowadays, the main gap that as a supplier I find in the Brazilian market is the incentives. It's very difficult to find companies willing to put down equipment and be able to supply these parts that the operators and the OEM need to be made here to be fast delivery and to put back the equipment on work. So what kind of incentive you think that operators, OEMs can give to the market, to the industrial market, to put up the infrastructure and made these parts for solve this situation?
I think that's I will not focus only on the additive, manufacture, but new technologies at all. So I have a few examples. So, but if you look, all the market is promoting are open the windows, for new technologies. So if you look at Petrobras, as well as Equinor recently, so they have their programs. OCI is very common. So yesterday there was a workshop for new startup, more academic, to give them space to provide solutions. So I think we can say other competitors from Altera as well that promotes the things that incentivates these, and they are putting their technologies under test. So I have one example from Altera. Recently, we have hired one company to predict the human behavior. So it was very promising to use a watch and deliver to the critical positions like crane operator, and CRO that they work under pressure. That's a lot of fatigue, a lot of information. So we wanted to monitor their mind. That was the promising technology. Didn't work the first time, so didn't work. We sent it back. I mean, it is inspiring the way these companies engineering how fast. So they are ready again for a second trial, and then we are going to give them a space because it's highly promising. So if someone is start, so that's a decision to take out. This is all involved what we said here, predictability. So, and I think honestly, the market is moving to open the windows. The market recognize they need innovation, they need new technologies. And we discussed here all the drops. I mean, we didn't talk about it, but there is a huge potential for additive, especially because it is not a certified item. Also, we are talking about a lighting post, some ways to fix it. Why not? So that's there's a plenty of opportunities.
If I can just add also that in Brazil, one of the best thing I've seen globally is the R&D money from the IOCs, so the 1% that really goes into projects where they are testing out many new technologies, and additive manufacturing is already in some of these 1% R&D projects in, as you mentioned, Equinor and Petrobras. But I think, and that's very good. And then you have the push from the operation, right? That really is there. The power is to make it fast because R&D project tends to have a certain distance before they go into operation. So I think it's very important to examples like you said with the drop objects, like it's just in front of you, somebody can grab it, and the incentive is that there will be many people listening and adopting it fast because it's not certified, so it's easy to get around the complexity compliance. So I think that was a very good example.
I give one more, like for the additive. So remind, we have old assets like converted. So we can see, for instance, the switchboards, the electrical boards. They normally they are original from a Chinese company that don't even exist anymore. So I can see examples that we can fabricate like small buttons, adjust to an R10, which is the Brazilian regulation. So there's a few of examples like scuppers, items from the accommodation that can be and they are being used. So Petrobras as well is moving towards this direction internally. They did some trials. So caps, small items, it is already being used. So there is a huge potential for a large scale. So just to complement.
I can add to that. I daydream about building stuff in Brazil. It's something that all the OEMs would like to have somewhere in Brazil. You can just deliver the good without importation and so on. But we are not there yet in terms of preparation. But it's something that I really would like to have. Of course, we live in a cycle a segment, right? When you have a lot of up and downs, maybe with the new FPSOs becoming having more FPSOs and a asset that give more steady delivery, we can start work on. But offshore, but I'm confident that the operators are going to start on these initiatives much before the OEMs.
Yeah, but if there is a stamp from Kongsberg, I would like.
Thank you very much for the workshop. I'm Vanessa from Equinor. I work with R&D there for 2 years. But so my question, I think, is simple. Is about IP. So I'd like to know how you deal with this. But I can explain my rationale behind it. Currently, so we would like to have a future when we use digital inventory, and we are going and working to have this in the future. So using R&D, using 1%, as he mentioned, but we know that so we need more and more steps. And currently, we want to use components manufactured by additive manufacturing during the delivery time, basically. So we don't have, not yet, a digital inventory and opportunities to apply additive manufacturing as we want, but sometimes we need. So we need to replace as fast as you can support us. And so as fast as we have the replacement, it's better for us because we spend less money, basically. So this is why I'm asking about IP, because sometimes so the components has the IP, and so we need to use a specific OEM or specific supplier, manufacturer. But this one is not the best one in terms of the time. So and so the big point currently to, or the big reason currently to use it to manufacturing is the lead time, at least in my point of view. So how you are working with this, how you are so and seeing this to solve possible IP questions and points.
Well, I can maybe initiate some of the discussion, but what we observe with Pelagus is we have some OEMs that see it as a potential threat and want to turn it into an opportunity. So, obviously, it's not a case that every single part that they do is good cases for on-demand manufacturing. There's lots of ways to improve lead time. Could be a case of carrying local stock. Could be a case of expediting the existing process. But finding that sweet spot, especially we see around legacy portfolio, aging assets, this is an area where we see, hey, there's not really a good alternative right now in place. And this is where we can then support the operator, can get the better lead time, so they'll benefit from that. But at the same time, the OEM can then provide better service, generate more revenue. So this is where we see it's about getting the right OEM in the beginning to get involved, those that want to turn threats into opportunities, and as well picking the right parts in that. And that kind of starts the wheel, because then other OEMs say, hey, me too. I want to do the same. Don't forget about me. Or hey, have you considered these parts as well? And we're like we mentioned, the drop item parts, the parts that no longer have OEMs that exist anymore. Maybe other OEMs want to jump in and say, yeah, we'll do it. We will do it in on-demand manufacturing, and then take that spot. So, food for thought. Maybe somebody else wants to comment.
Before we let the OEMs answer the question directly to Vanessa, I just want to say, Vanessa, exactly your question is really, really important to also push the OEMs, right? Because if you are clear on which OEMs it is that you would like to see that in, because you know your data, your asset, then I think it's much easier to also get the OEMs to start thinking strategically in digitalizing their parts, because there's a push from you big IOCs. Then I guess every OEM would think, I need to listen to that, because it's just checking out for someone who has a digital inventory. And I think the IP question is really, really central in this, because first, when the OEM accept that you can actually have this as an opportunity. In the beginning, you maybe think it will be less profit for me because I have to produce and I let somebody locally produce. But you will have to have some royalty, of course, for that design, for that IP. So you could maybe even earn more by letting this be produced locally, right? So it's just about where you, because you don't have the transportation, right? So you can cut that cost out and share among you. Maybe you can even do the products cheaper in the future if you really make it smart. That you get your royalty for the IP, but you also get satisfied clients because you get a fast lead time. But then I will let the OEMs answer. Vanessa, sorry.
Yeah, if I may say, I think it's quite complex situation, and I think that the sweet spot's really when it becomes obsolete, then it's actually kind of a burden to the suppliers to keep on supplying those components, those parts. Then I think that, I mean, it that can come to the point that, okay, let's open the intellectual property and let it go. It's my personal view that that would be the opportunity to tackle that. But I mean, until we get to the point that parts or systems, equipments become obsolete, I think that it would be very hard to OEMs that are investing so much in R&D and developing technology to just let it go, you know. So it's complex. I understand your question.
But can I just add to that you're saying, Gabriel, because you're not letting it go. I think that is the mindset that we need to work with together, sit and discuss, because I think Vanessa wants the OEM to deliver it. It's just another way to deliver it, to take that challenge of lead time, right? So if you still get your profit that you are calculating on this part, even if it's a new one, why would you not? You are actually getting something away from your paying list of manufacturing, finding the materials and so on, and pushing that out to some machineries, local manufacturing of the parts.
Yeah, it's not easy. Complexity with quality controls and so on, certification, I think that, classification. That is where I believe the challenge is. But it would be great to get it kind of ready to the future. I think that may be possible.
In my opinion, Loru, in my opinion, it's just a matter to come up with the right business model. Using IP and manufacture with other facility is already a reality in the Brazilian market for other stuff. So for this, also right? Whenever there is a new build, you have to fulfill a specific local content, and you can do it by using IP and royalties paid back and forth. So it's just a matter to fill this gap, to understand the business model, the business model, to understand the pain, if it's only lead time, or if there's there are other issues related to it. I know that for instance, for the new bits, they are already requesting a digital twin scheme of the goods in order to make a digital twin of the asset. So it's just a matter to push either via specification, business model, and I think the OEMs are good if we have the right way of getting the IP addressed.
Hello, my name is Rogério Moreira. Today I'm the procurement coordinator at Full Shipping. And I saw many times that in terms of lead time, let's say overall scope, we have the main parts with a very long lead time. So why this happen first? And for companies like Partsil and Kongsberg, what's the planning for these main parts? Of course, why this happens?
Obrigado.
Yes, as I mentioned the very beginning, our approach is to plan, right? Is to connect with the ship owners well in advance in order to address those lead times, because the lead times not only related to the part that we produce, but also to the part that we supply. Right? So it's a mix of our own parts, sub suppliers, and also the complexity, because when you have there is nothing more different than two sister vessels, right? So even two sister vessels, they have slightly different equipment on board, and the way it shows in most of the places that they look like the same. Oh, it's just a propulsion, it's just a propeller. No, but on this one you have hydraulic activation, and the other have pneumatic. So the way we address it, we look at every asset in our system with their unique set of parts and scope of work. So that's why we do not have you don't have two similar quotations with two similar lead time, because there is an engineering behind that, looking into your equipment, your running time, the oil samples that you send to the laboratory, in order to come up with a very sharp list of equipment that goes to suppliers and our own produced equipment.
I reckon a little bit of the same issues and challenges, but what I can say, well, Vertela took the decision some years ago to centralize the distribution center of spare parts in Europe, and to keep high level of stock of main components to all the equipment that we manufacture, and especially for what is high turnover spare parts to cover major overhauls of our engines and propulsion systems. We don't see much of long lead times for what is special procured parts that turnover is not that high, or that population of equipment is not that much. Then we may face those kind of longer lead times, or for very special systems and so on that are. But for what is kind of the 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 family of equipments that are still being manufactured and kept and within this window of production, and not outside of obsolescence curve, our stock levels are quite high, and have been maintained to supply I mean, all the road, all customers around the world with good delivery times. Yeah, so we can sit and discuss later.
My name is Mateus. I'm from Maxon Additive. We are a bureau in Brazil, and we breed parts super duplex, canal, just now. Uh, and it's not a challenge or anything like that, but it's more like walking in the same idea. That was just brought up. I would like, if we can, to keep challenging this idea, because like Tyler said, at the end of the day, for the parts that usually make no sense for you to keep in stock because it's a low volume, or you don't actually, it gets more expensive to have this in stock. At the end of the day, someone like Thales or Vanessa, they want the stamp from Wärtsilä, from Kongsberg. So this is a cooperation that needs to exist between Pelagus, Belga, and Action. Because at the end of the day, if Thales, Vanessa, or the other operators are not pushing for this, this will not happen. But we also need you in the table to make sure that we can move forward on this. So at the end of the day, I think the cake is big enough that everyone can enjoy it. And if we can keep this door open, at least for some specific components, I think this enables us to be quicker and move faster in this market, even with these barriers we find here in Brazil.
Yeah, the final words I will do is actually invite everybody to be a part of our ecosystem, right? To continue discussing this cross companies, being trustful, being transparent. We will try to continue this event. So next year we hopefully can come with more examples of what you actually can do and how it works, and the business models that we know has to be re-engineered. Let's try to do that and see some very good cases in Brazil on both additive manufacturing, but also how we solve these problems with the lead time and so on. So this is an invitation for that. When we go to the tables, I will circulate because sometimes people also don't know exactly how you see we can do in metal and so on. We have some samples. It's not the big samples. It's not the big engine parts or propellers or something like that that exists too. But we have some metal parts just to circulate, so you can get a little feeling when you have something to eat. So that we will do, and then please talk with each other, explain where you are, what you see, how you push, and then hopefully at least in 1 year we'll see you all again, and we can discuss further this exciting subject.
E nós vamos deixar de agradecer, né? As finalistas. Quer passar o de palmas por